foreboding. Have you ever heard of Yule?
Nope.
So, Yule is... Well, first off, it's spelled Yule, and it is what is actually the origin of Christmas. It is a pagan holiday that celebrates the winter solstice, which is the longest night of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And the giving of gifts, various ceremonies that are pretty close to Christmas, but not quite. And it's just kind of a fun time.
Interesting.
I've been wanting to do something for Yule for a while, but I've never have. So hyped for it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Because that normally falls on what? It's normally the 21st, isn't it?
Yeah. So, something that makes me think when it comes to this particular art program is how beauty can be created through basically random acts of an outside perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you actually watch the motions that I'm making doing this, it's nothing too complex. I'm literally, right now, just kind of slowly going into a circle.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes this strange, complex pattern.
It's interesting to see.
So it makes you think about the nature of the universe. And how, through potentially some inadvertent act of an outside force, maybe that's how everything's created.
Mm-hmm.
What if it is a god, but it's like a 5-year-old kid that like accidentally opened up a universe sim? Oh, the equivalent to the meatball people, but they have weird-ass culture compared to ours that we can't possibly understand. You know, the same things to talk about right now. I saw one of these days I'm gonna get put away somewhere.
Who knows? But heck, that's what this year's done to us. It's given us enough time to think and go deeper into our own thoughts.
I have had a little bit of a head start on it on everyone else because of disability.
Yeah.
So I'm like a good year and a half ahead of other people. So, I've never really asked you about this, but what are your religious beliefs?
I'm a Christian.
Okay. Any particular part of Christianity, or just kind of like the overarching feel of it?
Basically the overall.
Okay. So, let's walk through your death.
Alright.
Let's say, as you are driving home, let's say 5 minutes after we're done with this talk, you go out to go get some milk, and you ended up in a car accident. You die instantly. What happens? What is the first thing you experience after that?
Basically, you stand before God in judgment.
And what exactly is he judging you for?
It's if you were covered in his blood or if you were still a sinner. So either saved or not.
So, you're saying that in your beliefs, no one that. Let's say there's an African village that has never heard of God. And there's people that live and die there.
Mm-hmm.
Would they be judged for not having believed in Jesus?
Yes.
Even whenever they have no access to the knowledge of him.
As far as I know, yes.
So, whenever you finish getting judged, what happens after that?
You are either allowed into heaven or you are cast into hell.
And let's just follow down your path. You go into heaven. What is heaven like?
I was about to say I would love to describe it, but there's no words to describe it.
So, I've I said I wasn't gonna go too deep on you, but I'm gonna go a little deep on you. So what my conversation with Echo was primarily about I've been fairly sick lately, and kind of through it I've been having like strange daydreams.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a series of them recently that's been a fairly religious experience. And it was exploring the aspects of the mind, body, and soul. Now, again, a lot of this is going to sound like tinfoil hattish stuff, but this is a combination of illness plus regular medication interference plus extreme tiredness from nausea meds. So, but this is also something that, like, I've had these ideas brewing about the aspects of the mind, body, and soul. And a culmination of that kind of, like, led my mind onto this trip. Oh, my sense of self. So, the first trip was, about the minds. It was acknowledging how it interacts with the whims of the body and the hope of the soul, and how it can process the ideas and information around it, and how it can leave behind aspects of itself. Its personality, its likes, its dislikes, and ascend to a realm of just pure thought. Just thinking about everything. And I it was an experience of what it truly felt like if you were nothing but your minds.
Mm-hmm.
No emotion, no sense of purpose. The second trip was a journey into the soul. And I do want to mention, these are straight up out of body experiences. So, for the aspect of the soul, it was going away from the body, peeling it back like a puppet used to. Well, think of it like this. Think of it as you are writing a comic book. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The story's going on as it does, and the author wants to help out the character directly. They don't want to have an in-universe reason. They want to just do something for the character. They can just straight up have an author text box pop in that says, "Hey, do this," or they can just add something to the environment. But it's still a strange way of interaction with the creation of it. There's a limitation of the author that he's not actually a part of what he's made. So he's not able to interact with it as if he were a normal person. Does that make sense?
Kinda.
So, with that limitation of interaction, it's entirely based off of the limits and the possibility of the author's imagination. Sorry, I had a cough. But even then, the author cannot just physically, like, he can't just punch his hand through the page and punch the bad guy that's on the panel. There is a method that he has to use to interact with this world. And that's kind of how it felt like the spirits, like, that's how the spirit affects the world, is it sends off a strange sense of interaction that it kind of understands, but can't really use to directly modify the target, which is Earth. And kind of just keeping exploring out away from the material world, there was like this wondrous hymn, a harmony that you could just kind of lose yourself in. And that was the end of the second trip. Do you have any thoughts or questions so far?
I am.
No questions.
No.
Not even like what location am I at to call people to come take me to the crazy bin. I see. So after that one, I spent a little bit of time thinking, and I figured out that because it was my mind, it was probably on this track of the mind, body, and spirit. So I spent the next little bit kind of fretting about what the body would be, because if you strip the body of the mind and the spirit, what is left? I was cut. That was not a rhetorical question. I was seeing if he had an answer.
That's why I didn't answer.
So, but how it ended up going was an experience of, again, this is kind of just like self-awareness going on this trip and exploring it. So, imagine your self-awareness, not your thoughts, not your drive or ambition to do anything, just your self awareness. Being within your body. No motivation, no action, just being. Imagine if. Imagine, like, being in a coma, but unaware of the people around you. You're actually there and taking in the information, just not really able to process or think about it. That's what that was. Like, looking back on it, it was scary as fuck.
Yeah, that would be.
I've had a few others in a series of things, but my thoughts for that aren't collected enough to have a full conversation on it yet. Because it takes a lot of effort figuring out how to even word it to sound crazy, to like even just convey the base idea.
I can see why.
I feel like a aspect where a lot of philosophers and psychologists fail in is communication and representing their points clearly and concisely. And I understand why, but it needs to be better.
Yeah. I was about to say, it's made my head hurt. Oh.
So, in response to the question I asked you, you gave me your aspect of what the afterlife was like.
Yeah.
But, like, through this kind of, like, fairly religious experience, I feel like those three aspects kind of just split and go off on their own ways.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, I'm probably gonna go play some Hearthstone. I was just, few conversations I needed to have.
Yeah.
But, I'll talk to you later.
Alrighty.